Hey, everybody.
Hey, you.
Welcome back. So, this is a good one. Now we're going to hear the other side. The flip side.
Mm-hmm.
We'll hear from your side.
Mm-hmm.
So, tell us, what changed the day, or tell us about, the first day you realized, oh fuck.
About what? I was 2 years old, but I don't know.
We don't have to go all the way back then.
No. About what? You mean the V or the C or the what?
The C, the V.
The V.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a long one. We gotta chop that up. Okay, that's the other side of the story, the other side of the table. Yeah. Well, what happened? As I mentioned before, we don't have TV, radio. Well, I listen to a radio channel online, and it's interrupted every hour by news, and I turn it off. And I would do the same when my kids were young. Actually, we did have TV for a period, mainly used it for movies we picked ourselves or playing Wii or something, But we never really just had a TV running in the background. I did when I was younger, a little bit, because everybody did it. Like, I even think I had one in the kitchen for in the morning to listen to CNN.
Yeah, that was it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Everybody did it. It was part of life, right? That's like what you do if you have a successful life. You have all these screens and so on. Anyway.
That's insane.
It is. In every room.
When was that? Was that like when they had all these, updates from the war in Iraq or something like that all the time?
Yeah.
Let's have a little bit of wartime in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, sorry.
So, so we didn't have TV channels for whatever. I think it's maybe 15 years now, I guess. Yeah, shut them all off. And then would stream if we saw something we wanted to see or pick something ourselves. Anyway, so I didn't really know. We didn't know. We were 3 in the household at that time. We didn't really know what was going on. And then this C thing hits the world. And we hear about it, of course, and so on. And then I remember thinking the story about the bat or whatever, some food market, meat market. And I was we were just laughing yeah, okay, right. Okay, right. Mm. Everything in our intuition separately, we're yeah, right. Nobody said, I think it's right. We must, Everybody was kind of laughing. We were giggling about it. Okay, so and it, Milan was laid down, and everybody, and everything again. We were observing what was going on, but nothing felt right. It was not okay, I believe that. Better put on this, and we better do that, and we better nothing. And I remember because my brother was actually quite sick 2 months before they said this thing when they started the lockdown. In his, respiratory system, and they in and out of the hospital. He's just been in New York traveling, and they couldn't find out what it was. It turns out now it actually was an early stage of this virus, they say. So, and then this lockdown and all this masks thing. I'm like, what? No, masks are for slaves. This is something we always done. And again, my intuition, but am I gonna breathe my own bad air, used up oxygen? No, it doesn't make sense. I mean, it can't be healthy. It looks stupid too, but it can't be healthy. And I was started looking at the old people that already have problems breathing, walking around with this, this can't be healthy. Again, my intuition, I didn't know, I didn't research it at that point. And then, well, we decided to do all the right things. We, the man in the house would be the only one going out shopping. He didn't wear a mask. I mean, he had a scarf, big scarf he would put up. So we would stay home. I feel we did all the right thing. All the people that later got V didn't, because they still went to cafes. They still didn't, and we would stay home. and wait and see what this was all about, right? And it got worse and worse, and then I started to research. Actually, there started to be these demonstrations and by what is that, government building. It was called Klinke Klonke, where people would go in with a lid from a pot and a spoon and just stand while the government sitting inside making different decisions, because it turned out that during all this lockdown they were sneaking all kinds of new laws in that people didn't notice. Like if you went online and looked at the government and the different rule system, the justice system, you would suddenly see overnight new rules, like crazy ones. You know, the fines that you get a 40,000 krona fine if you were more than this so many people in a shop, or a hairdresser, and we were like, okay, what is this all about? And I couldn't wear a mask, call it whatever you want. I just couldn't. I felt, maybe I've been in a gas chamber in an earlier life, whatever. I just couldn't. I tried. I bought this fancy one from Anonymous, and with filters in, and you know, all kinds of patterns instead of these diapers people were wearing. I just couldn't. In the beginning, I did, again, because they were talking about this is the right thing to do, protect the others. Okay, so I have these meetings twice a week, 3 times a week, in a cafe, where, of course, you had to have. This was before the V in the beginning, but it was mandatory with the masks, and I was like, I can't. So it was in a mall, and to enter the mall, you're supposed to have it on, and you're supposed to have it on all the time, just not when you sit down. So I would, and the cafe is like 8 steps from the entrance of the mall, a shopping center. And so I would just stand outside and I would make fun of it. I would run in and sit down without a mask, like, okay, nobody saw me, because I couldn't wear, it was just too stupid. No, I'm not going to put a mask on to walk 8 steps to sit down and take it off. I mean, everything in my integrity, self-respect, it was just like, no, you're kidding me. And it was fine, and they went along like that. And then at some point when they started introducing, so they made it mandatory, and you had to use it in public transportation and in taxis and stuff. And I remember this feeling. I was riding my bike, and it was a certain date. They put you, like, they would advise, say like 4 or 5 days before the new law, would just sit in, and you had to, okay. And as we didn't watch TV, and so I wasn't up to date with it. Okay, so I remember I took my bike. I had a meeting in town. I took my bike. I was gonna bike to town. I saw when I was a little late. Okay, I have to take a train or a taxi. So I went to the train station, and suddenly I see everybody walking around the street, coming up from the train station with this mask on. I'm like, I don't have a mask. Oh, it's today. Like, and I felt like this wild hunted animal. Like, I don't have a mask. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Everything was so new. I don't even think, maybe 7-Eleven started to sell the mask at that point. I don't know. And I thought, okay, what can I do? I can either bike and be late for the meeting, where I make the money that pays for these tests and all this, keeps the wheel going. Or I can, I couldn't get a taxi, because you also have to wear one in the taxi. So I thought, F it, I'm taking the train. Like, And I get down to the train, I go down to the train station, what do you call it? The track. Everybody's got a mask on, looking, and some of them are looking at me. And I was paranoid, because it's all new. Like, oh, am I really this criminal? I am criminal right now, I felt. And I actually, it's hard for me to admit, I would like hide a bit from the train, the local driver, because he shouldn't see me, because maybe he would react.
The conductor.
Yeah, the conductor, like, I thought, are you really hiding? And I was, because everything was getting so new. I get on the train, everybody has a mask, and they're looking at me, some of them, and I'm like, and I'm in my head preparing for somebody saying something, or the conductor coming to check my ticket and would say something or whatever, and I'm like, What am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? And what was heartbreaking was I noticed this couple, parents with a little baby, young kid, maybe 2, 3, 4 months, crying and crying and crying, and the parents were wearing a mask, crying and crying, and there was nothing wrong, and they tried everything. But what I now know later, and the psychologist also mentioned this, a baby that age is so dependent on reading the face of the parents, and they couldn't. And I was like, and that's when I already started getting furious about this psychology, how they were going to mess up this generation of kids. Because I could obviously see this was the baby was afraid and trying to get some kind of support or comforting, and they couldn't. Could only see the eyes of the parents that were frustrated, of course, they couldn't help. Okay, so I get off on the station, and I think it's one of our main stations. I think, okay, there's going to be other people without a mask. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of people. No. And I'm standing there, and I have to take the elevator with my bike, and people were like, they avoided me. They let me actually go in and have an empty elevator. This is not normal because it's a very busy train station. You stuff, and they actually avoided. Get in, and I get up, and as soon as the doors open, I just felt that feeling of people going to the slaughterhouse, because everybody up on the square was wearing masks, walking around like this. And this was just for me, the kettle. Totally, just walking, ready to get slaughtered. Okay. This is when everything starts getting tough, because that's where people started treating me and us as if we were sick, the sick people. They started to get angry, shocked, offended. Oh, really? Can't you see everybody's wearing a mask and that, And then one day I woke up and I just said to myself, okay, this does not exist in my reality. I'm gonna be totally straight. I do not wear a mask, period. I can't, I don't. There's an exception on me, and there was for some people. And somebody started making these, and it was just like the start. They started making these badges you could wear where it said you didn't have to, you couldn't, or whatever. Thank you for understanding, and so on. I bought a lot of them, mostly to support the person that came up with the idea. I thought it was cool to give the elder people, because they didn't know. Sometimes I would meet some, and I would tell them, listen, did you know you don't have to if you have difficulty? Oh, really? I don't have to? I didn't go into this. Then I started researching. It was not a law. It's a proposal, like everything else is, really. It's not laws.
No.
That's another talk.
I remember, actually, I don't know if you know about this, but there was I'm not 100% sure about this, but as far as I heard, there was a law in place in Denmark which, if in case that stuff like this happens and you shut down so much, that there is a basic income that they should have got. This law was taken down without a vote or anything, just before the mandatory, the mandates for all sorts of things started appearing. I'll have to double check up on that.
Okay, so all this provoked me so much because, again, as I said, in the beginning of this virus period, we were doing all the right things. We didn't go out, no cafes, no nothing. And then I started to dive deep in and started to connect with doctors and experts and in diseases, viruses, and all this stuff, and go to these meetings they would have, and I was shocked when I heard the things. One thing it was getting the confirmation of my own gut feeling that something was really off here, but it's also shocking to realize what was going on from listening to experts about what's really going on. And that's another thing, we were never tested. I never took a PCR test because, again, a gut feeling. No, you're not sticking something up my nose. And we're in 2021, and you say there's been a man on the moon, and you're supposed to stick this all the way up to my brain? Like, no. No. Like, are you kidding me? I did once too, because I had to travel, and you had to have a test that showed you didn't have the virus. So I did a spit test. And the only difference with the spit test and the PCR is that it didn't give you as much free time. It was only last like 24 hours. The other one's 72, but fine. when I sat at the first meeting with these doctors that came from Ireland, I'm not going to mention names because it might be a problem. This panel, Holland and Ireland and England and so on, Germany, and I was listening also about what's in the PCR test. I was like, what? I was with a friend and we just looked at each other like, because the PCR test, and this is common knowledge now, you can find it probably, it's still on Google. PCR test, it has dehydrated virus in it, which means this is why they stick it up and so it becomes hydrated, and when it's hydrated, the COVID, the virus becomes active. This is why you see, and I heard that from many people, well, we didn't have it or nothing. And then suddenly, 7 days after we've been tested, we get COVID. Oh, this is weird. Yeah, no, it's not that weird.
Jesus.
Yes, and it had other things in it too, but this was the main thing, to keep this virus thing going.
The story
going. And the numbers going up. Okay, so I got deep into it. I didn't sleep at all because I got so furious and I got so interested, and I'm a nerd when something's interesting. To find out also how to cure, not cure, we're not allowed to say that, I'm not allowed to say that, but to fix, support people that had reaction to the virus after the smell, the taste buds, the different things, brain fog, la la la. Then the V was introduced. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I know, and most people know this, actually, they might have forgotten, that you're not supposed to take any kind of drug or meds that hasn't been on the market for 10 years because you do not know the long-term side effects or effects. Of course, this is common logic, knowledge, again, intuition-wise, for me, logic.
Yeah.
And I remember we discussed it at home. Like, and nobody was like, no, let's see what happens to the rest first, you know. And again, as I just told you, if, of course, people were dropping in the street from a disease, like the plague or something, I understand why so many rolled up. I wouldn't. I don't think so. I can't imagine, because it's all new. So I did the research again about what was in it, and I think I cried for a week. Not because I took it, but thinking about all the people that took it, and because I knew what was in the future for them. And I did so much research because I was kind of denying how bad it was. I just didn't want to believe, you know, but as I researched there and it all just unfortunately added up to the same score, you know. They all came up with the same. I went to meetings, conferences, calls, JFK, got deep involved with a lot, and the politicians and stuff like that.
RFK.
RFK, yeah. JFK.
That's like
He'll come later. No.
He was out early.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's what we did. So we just kind of. It is a war. It was a war. It is a war. The feeling of being the Jew with the star was terrible, and you really had to toughen up. I mean, really be like. I found out people were so brainwashed that if I just wore sunglasses, which I do a lot, it was like just having something in your face kind of made them think you had a mask on or something. This was a trick I did a lot. But it was crazy because we were so wrong. My family, we were so wrong. And the friends I had that was on that side of the table were all just wrong. We were like hunted animals. It was terrible. And excluded and not allowed. And my daughter couldn't spend Christmas with the other side of the family because she wasn't beat and she wasn't tested. And what about grandma and granddad? You really want them to get sick? I mean, the psych, the thing, the mind game, the play, it's just so terrible, and will go on forever. I mean, the effects, the ripple effects are just huge. Yeah. So no, we didn't get the.
But just also to to really put things into perspective, as everything that has come out since, there was like, first it was the vax it stops with the shot. you can't give it to anyone else. It stops with the shot. It stops with you then. No, it doesn't. That you get the shot, you pass it on. Then the shot is this and this, that much effective. Then and it went down. It went down. At some point, it was at 17%. Then it went below that. It was like there was nothing in this that really was what it was said to be, and you could not point this out. And still to this day, many of these lies are still like being told as if they were the truth, and they're not.
No. People just blindly trust it.
If you mention this, I mean, we are now with this alternative, right?
Yeah.
And that's incredible.
Yeah. And it's
I mean, even if you don't, want to know more or whatever, at least face that this was not done in good faith. This was not done based on good science or whatever. At least that much, acknowledge that much.
Yeah. And the point, one of the main points I always make about it is the fact that the batch numbers, like from Pfizer, the reactions to the batch numbers are different. Like somebody got a batch number, blah, 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 they wouldn't have any adverse effects. But if they got one of the 3.88 batch, they would have like reported heavy.
Yeah.
And I try to tell people this, like, even this can it make you understand that it's an experiment that's not positive, or else they would give the same to everybody.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And so there was a lot of, again, on the other side of the table, doctors that made these sites for we could report what happened to people, reactions, because I started treating people that had severe side effects. And I did it for a period until it just became too much. I had to stop because emotionally and mentally for me, it was too difficult, because one thing was the physical effects they had, but the psychological effects they had were just crazy, because they were told they were crazy for having these reactions. There was nothing wrong with the V, nothing wrong, you're crazy. They would get sleeping meds, and actually some would end up in the crazy house. Just like in the old days. Sanatories, what you do with people.
I'll never forget also this, what was it, with Eric Clapton? It was like demonized completely because he said it damaged his, it took him quite a while to actually get back to being able to play the guitar. And he was like, that's right wing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what the, what?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. It's really.
I mean, even if you still believe everything that's being said about it, this was like a very highly experimental thing to be done, and you're not allowed to say that you had adverse reactions to it. Come on, man.
Remember the crisis there also was in the airplane industry? They were like because the pilots were suddenly dying. So they didn't have enough pilots, and they wouldn't admit why. A person told me actually at one of our major airplane, companies, that when you work in that field, you have to go through a medical test once a year, some 2 times. It depends on what company. And the problem was now that the crew, even the cabin crew, could not go through the test, so they got grounded, as you call it. So actually, I was a little nervous flying, I must admit, because I know the odds. I know they fly themselves on most of these planes, but still, the odds are actually that the crew will suddenly, because they were forced to take it, so they could suddenly get, just check out in the middle of everything. So that's enough for now. I'm getting a little tired. It's terrible.
And I think we'll promise that when we return, the next one will be on stuff we can do, right?
Yeah, there's a lot you can do, sure. Yeah. This is, for me, these talks are nothing negative. It's a heavy talk. It's heavy for you, of course. It's heavy for me. It's a heavy topic, and we're still in the middle of this because there's still been no solutions, public solutions. People are living with this. We're doing these talks for me, and I'm doing it because we want to show people that you can do things. if you admit what you did to yourself. Right? This is the starting point to understand and admit what's going on in your body. But then you can start the process of fixing as much as you can. And
and of course, it's also great material for black comedy.
I still think we should call it Dead Man Walking.
Yeah, that's what we'll call this one.
Yeah.
Or the last one,
Yeah,
actually.
the previous one. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So bye-bye for now.
Cheerio.
Stay safe and don't...
Share it.
Yeah.
Just share it. Even if you think we're crazy, share it. Oh, I'm crazy. I'm the crazy one, right? Because I didn't do the right thing.
Just look at my shirt, man. Just look at my shirt.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. All right. From the crazy people, see you on the next one.